Welcome to Houston Sports Talk with your host, Robert Land.
Sports Talk's a live World Series postgame show. Our first sad postgame show of the Astros postseason. Robert Land alongside Stephen Kerr. Between the two of us, 60 years combined in sports journalism. Stephen, I'm going to let you start because I got some major thoughts on this one.
Yeah, I think we both do, Robert. I mean, look, it's a game of inches, no matter how you slice it. I mean, the Astros should have won this game. I mean, that's the obvious statement. You know, if Castellanos doesn't make that catch, maybe you win. You know, if Bregman's ball had gone a little further, maybe it'd have been a home run. But you don't win games on maybes, Robert. I mean, unfortunately, history keeps repeating itself. The Astros have never won a game one of a World Series, but this thing really stings. That's all I can say. It just stings. I'm pissed.
I'm afraid to say this, Stephen, but the facts are the facts. I don't know how many teams, first game of the World Series or in a World Series, have blown a 5-run lead and won that series in any game.
Well, actually, the Red Sox in 2004, they blew a lead to the Cardinals. They came back and actually won that game. I think it was a 7-2 game at that point. So, yeah, the Red Sox are the only team I can think of who have done that. But, yeah, your point is well taken, though. It's very rare.
I'm saying won the series after having lost a 5-run lead in a game. That's my point.
Yeah. Well, that's about the closest you're going to get to it. I mean, it just doesn't happen. And certainly not that often.
I mean, if you're the Astros, this is worst case scenario. I mean, I'm going to be honest with everybody out there. You know, I hate to say it like that, but look, you had all the momentum coming into this one. You got 5 runs. The Phillies are the Destiny's team because of how they've played in the first two rounds. The Astros are the dominant force, and now you just showed that you can be beat. The Phillies now believe they can come back. They have gained the momentum. They've gained home field advantage. Justin Verlander. Let's talk about Justin Verlander for a second, Stephen. It's bad. This is really, really bad. He's given up at least 4 earned runs in 6 of his last 10 postseason games. 52 pitchers in history have won more regular season games than Verlander. That's it, 52 pitchers. But Verlander has made 8 career starts in the World Series and is 0-6, and this one doesn't even count as a loss. Justin Verlander is choke city right now. I'm going to just be straight up honest with everybody out there that are Astros fans. He is choke city.
Well, it kind of goes along with what I said on Twitter is, you know, he can bring you to the dance. In other words, he can get you to the postseason, but he doesn't take you home. He doesn't drive you home. And I mean, it's sad to say, Robert, I think it's pretty obvious Justin will make the Hall of Fame, and I'm pretty sure he will. He's done everything else. He's won Cy Young awards. He's been an all-star. You know, he does have a World Series ring. So, but when it gets down to it, when it's his time to shine, you know, the numbers speak for themselves. The only game that the Astros have won when Justin Verlander was on the mound in a World Series was that 11-inning, 13-12 real wild game with the Dodgers back in 2017. But Justin was long gone by then. So everything else, it stacks up.
And he didn't pitch well in that one either.
No, he didn't.
And apparently we know this. You and I know it. Astros fans know he's been struggling in the postseason. Astros fans have seen it. But Dusty Baker did what Dusty Baker does way too often. We love loyalty in people. I am about loyalty myself. I believe in loyalty as a person, as a friend, as a family member. You know, I believe in that. But at the same time, you can't be Mr. Loyalty when it's the World Series. And you can't be loyal in a situation where it's not the right thing to be loyal in. And he's loyal to Justin Verlander because Justin Verlander's done it all year. But you got to look at what's going on. And what's going on is this Astros bullpen is the best in baseball. They've been fantastic. And Justin Verlander did not look good for the 3rd inning at all. It was bad. And Justin Verlander should have been yanked after those first 2 guys got on base. I mean, if not sooner than that, but definitely after the first 2 guys get on base and nobody out, and you got to take Justin Verlander out of the game. You've got All of these, you've got an entire fresh bullpen. Even if you think he's Jesus Christ, you have the 12 apostles in the bullpen. You can't let this happen, Steven. This is bad baseball because you had 5 days of rest for everybody. And you've got Brian Abreu, and you got Ryan Stanek, and I'm going to get to Ryan Stanek down the road, but you got Montero and Neris and Presley and all of these guys. I mean, just Hunter Brown. You got all of these guys, and they're all fresh, and they're all ready to go. And after the first 2 games, you get a day off. We're back to the regular schedule in the World Series where you have days off between 2 and 3 and between 5 and 6. You got to win that. You cannot let that game get back to where it was at that point in the game. You shut it down and you use your bullpen. And that was just terrible. And that's what cost him the game. There's nothing else that you can say about this game except that one particular move cost him the game. And Dusty Baker, hey, loyalty's great in the regular season because you're trying to gain confidence with guys. But when you get into the postseason, and especially when you get into the World Series, you can't do that. And that's why he's a loser in the playoffs. He's never won a World Series because he gets too loyal. He was too loyal with Alex Bregman last year when Alex Bregman wasn't good enough to play third base in the World Series after, the injury. And he was limping and he wasn't that good. You should have put in somebody else and he didn't do it.
He doesn't. I mean, he goes by tradition, Robert. He didn't do that. He hasn't done that with Altuve either. I mean, you're getting virtually nothing out of the leadoff spot. But ladies and gentlemen, that was officially a World Series Robert rant. Normally I would disagree with you about pulling Verlander early, Robert, but here's the thing. The first 3 innings, he strikes out 4 batters. And in the 4th inning, his swing and miss rate just plummeted like off the face of the earth. He only had 2 in that inning and only 1 strikeout the last 2 innings. And not only that, not only were the Phillies making contact, they were making good contact and they were getting great at-bats, obviously. If they score 3 runs in the 4th and 2 in the 5th and what have you, that's when you have to say, look, we've got to win this game 1. You just got to win that first game and take him out a little bit earlier than you might in a normal situation. Normally Justin's going to try to squirm out of it, but I think it was pretty obvious in the 4th inning that it wasn't going to happen. And yeah, I have to say this time, I'd have to agree with you that it should have been done sooner rather than later for those very reasons.
And I knew Justin Verlander was going to be the weak link in this Astros starting rotation in the postseason because look at his numbers this year. He's not the strikeout pitcher he once was. And you need swing and miss guys. You need somebody to get elite outs in the postseason. And Justin Verlander's not that guy anymore. I'm sorry. He's not that guy anymore.
And I don't understand, like I said, the first couple 3 innings, he was looking like the guy. That's the thing. And then all of a sudden, it's like the wheels just completely come off. And, Robert, as much as I'd like to put all the blame on Justin Verlander, look, this offense had chances to get back in this game. When they had Aaron Nola on the ropes and the Phillies came back with those 3 runs, Nola has a 1-2-3 inning, basically gets him off the hook. And you could feel the wind going out of the sails in this game. I think in the 5th inning, I wrote in my notes, Robert, yeah, it's 5-5, but it feels like the Astros are behind just the way things were going. And, I know we'll get to the offense and all that, but, as much as I'd like to say, put it all on Verlander, and yeah, most of it should go on Verlander. I'm not disagreeing with you, but the Astros still had chances to win this game, and they just did not come through offensively.
Astros fans that are watching, we want you to comment. We want you to subscribe to our channel on YouTube if you've never been here before. That's how you can support the show. We'll react to questions or comments as the show rolls along. Let's get to some of the major moments, and we've talked about some of them, but Astros strike first in the 2nd. Nola puts one right in Tucker's sweet spot, down and in. Nola's specialty isn't the high fastball, so I figured that would help Tucker and or Yordan. It helped Tucker in this game. Then playoff Yuli singles. Chas fights off a pitch for a single, and then on a hit and run, Maldi singles to right. Great AB by Maldi. At this point, this looks like my Astros. 3rd inning, the boy wonder Jeremy Pena doubles Bregman, a classic Breggy walk against his college roommate at LSU. He works the count beautifully. That sets up the man of the night, Kyle Tucker. Man of the night, we thought, with another perfect swing, a repeat type of swing. And Steven, you probably saw the quote. He said that he thought that the Astros were going to try to finish this one quick. If they didn't get it, win all the games.
Yeah.
Maybe that was the wrong thing to say, but he backed his words up. I can't argue with him if he's backing his words up with three hits and 2 home runs and 5 RBIs.
Yeah. Unfortunately, Robert, this isn't basketball. This isn't the Rockets where one guy, scores 60 points in the game and the Rockets win and the other 4 just barely make it. You've got 8. Well, if you're talking about the lineup, you got 8 other guys in there that are supposed to hit. And Kyle Tucker did his thing. Teddy Tucker, baby. He did it, but the rest of them did not come through. And that's my point. You have nothing in the leadoff spot. You have nothing in the DH spot. And, Alvarez is he's not stinking up the joint, but he's certainly not the Yordan that you see in the ALDS. So, there are some definite holes, and we've been saying this all year. And sometimes when you get into, there was a tweet that I saw, I believe it was from Jessica Mendoza, and she basically believes that as far as a 1-2 punch in starting pitching, the Phillies are better than the Astros in that department.
Well, Justin Verlander is, if he's your 1-2, but I would argue that if you're talking Christian Javier would have been in the 1-2. Christian Javier right now is as good as anybody that's pitching baseball, and Fromber has been fantastic all year.
I agree.
He's done his job in the postseason outside of throwing the ball away as a defensive guy. And speaking of throwing the ball away as a defensive guy, here was another huge play that Justin Verlander could have got himself out of trouble because it was the top of the 4th, runner on first, liner back at him. He drops it, or he might have doubled off the runner at first. He gets 1 out, but gives up 3 runs in the inning on 4 hits after that. If he makes that double play, that pretty much quells the rally right there. I mean, we've seen it with Fromber, some pitching defensive issues, and I'm not saying this was an easy play, but it hit Verlander right in the glove, and it wasn't
it did hit
a laser at his face. It was glove side for Verlander.
Yeah, it was. And, then, and Stott comes up to bat with a full count with 10 pitches, takes him 10 pitches to draw a walk. And it's just, as I said, the wheels just kept coming off the cart when it came to Verlander. And man, it's happened too many times for me to say, that it's just it's certainly not an isolated incident. And I can't point as to why, Robert. I don't know that he's injured or, the arm is fatigued finally, or I don't know. You run out of reasons after a while.
Yeah. For some reason, Dusty decides to pitch Abreu for 2 innings again. Man, you've got all these fresh pitchers, and he gets Abreu in trouble, and it might not seem like a big deal because they got out of it with Neris, but Stephen, that takes a little bit of Abreu's confidence that he's had going through the whole postseason away. I just don't understand what Dusty was doing tonight.
Well, I think it's obvious that, Rob Thompson in his first World Series game as a manager, when it came to using his bullpen, he totally outmanaged Dusty Baker. And, he took some risk. I mean, he put Ranger Suarez in there. Isn't he like their 3rd or 4th starter? He may be your game 3 or 4 starter, and he pitches a couple of innings. But he was going, it was obvious that he was going the aggressive route to try to steal this first game. He was taking the bull by the horns. And as you mentioned earlier, Dusty Baker just doing the traditional thing, going with what brung him. Part of you can understand it, I guess. But to me, Abreu, yes, he's electric and he's had a great season. But to really get the most out of him, I think 1 inning is about all he gives you. When you get him into a 2nd inning, like you saw tonight, he starts struggling, and Hector Neris has to bail him out. The former Philly comes in and mows him down. That's great. But for Abreu, yeah, like you said, might have left him in there a little too long, and then he almost lets the roof cave in.
I'm going to let you respond to this one. VJ says Alvarez, Tucker, and others were trying to play hero ball late instead of getting on base. They were swinging at bad pitches and having bad at. What did you think about the pitches, and did you think the guys were trying to play hero ball a little bit late in this game?
Yeah, I think there's a tendency to, throughout this whole postseason. I think we even saw it, some in the last couple of series where the Astros just weren't getting good at bats. And I think that the Phillies, they were the ones that were patient. They were the ones that were getting the timely hits. But, these guys, Alvarez, more often than not, he's going to be your hero. And Tucker certainly is capable of doing that. But, I mean, I can't blame the loss on both of those guys in the late innings. Sure, of course they're trying to get you back in the game and even win it.
Yeah, I don't know if I saw that as much as I saw that in the 18-inning game where everybody looked like
that was, there were so many swings and misses that 18-inning game, I lost count. It's not like the Astros were striking out all over the place, but I don't think that was the reason that the Astros lost this game. I think there are too many other things that we can point to that.
Let's go to the bottom of the ninth. Altuve, excuse me, single, barely steals second, but Castellano then robs Jeremy Pena with a diving catch. So that's the play, I guess you could say, of the game. I still think Dusty's decisions early were the play of the game. And of course, that basically cost the game because Real Muto, the home run off Luis Garcia. And Stephen, some people might be confused. Well, why didn't Dusty pitch Stanek to start the 10th? Well, this is why. We discussed it in our World Series preview a couple of days ago. Real Muto was 3 for 7 with a home run off Stanek.
Yeah.
But as it turns out, didn't work either because Garcia gives up the home run. Maybe Hunter Brown would have worked right there. I don't know, but I don't know who you would go to at that point. My thing is, maybe if you went to Stanek earlier, you could have had Neris for a whole inning later, like around the 10th inning. That's why there was just some real question marks the way Dusty used this pitch. And this was such an easy pitching staff to use. They're so good. It's hard to screw this up.
Well, yeah, you would think. Now, one of the things I thought of when he put Garcia into the 10th is that you're going, you can go for some longevity there if you need to. I mean, heaven forbid we're going to do another 18-inning game, but at least he can give you some length if it's necessary. But and he certainly came in relief in the 18-inning game and did his job, but he gave up the one home run tonight. And it just, obviously that was the difference. But, so that I wasn't so terribly surprised that he put Garcia in when he did.
Yeah. I mean, I keep going back to the Verlander thing. I mean, we can talk in circles, and I mean, you go in baseball, momentum is the next game starting pitcher, but I just, I feel like this series, you changed everything with the first game. The Astros still can't win a first game in the World Series. We know the narrative there. I mean,
yeah,
I don't know what else to say, Stephen. I'm just incredibly angry at Dusty, and that's why I think we all are a little bit like worried about Dusty at all times. Yes, he is a dang good manager and he makes a lot of really good moves, and he's a great guy to have for a long season, and he's a great leader, and he's a great clubhouse guy, but he's been in a lot of postseasons now and he can't win. And a lot of people have question a lot of the decisions that he's made. And it just baffles the crap out of me that when the year is over with, that the thought is, according to all the insiders, that Dusty is going to be coming back and James Click is not. Whereas I think James Click has done about as good a job to set up this team with all of the ancillary players as he possibly can. I mean, he made some deals. He did a great job with the bullpen, fantastic job. The best bullpen in Astros history, as I keep pointing out. This is the best bullpen in Astros history, and it was built almost entirely by,
James
Click. Yeah, it's almost entirely by James Click. Obviously Presley, no, Abreu was somebody that was around in the organization, but everybody else that you see pitching is pretty much James Click. The other three guys that have been your fantastic setup guys, and all of them were really good tonight, except Abreu pitched too long.
Well, I think what's most frustrating to me, Robert, and we already hit on this earlier, is that you have a guy that has plenty of postseason managerial experience and hoping that you learn from some of your mistakes, and then you have a guy like Rob Thompson, who basically he's playing as if he's the underdog, and He has nothing to lose. And he's making just absolutely the right decisions of who to put in when, as far as his bullpen is concerned. And that's the baffling thing for me. And I think that's really what is probably frustrating most of us, is that, this isn't Dusty's first rodeo. And the whole thing with James Click, I think it's obvious there are some differences going on between him and Crane, and that may lead to him not coming back. Yet it's very possible, no matter how this World Series turns out, that Dusty Baker may be back. So, look, I know it's the first game and everything, and you still got a ways to go, but the Phillies, I said this before, Robert, the Phillies scared me. I really did not want to play the Phillies in this series. The way they have been playing, they have a better lineup than the Yankees did. Certainly, they have showed it. And the way they took their at-bats to the Astros pitching, too, at just the right times, they got the right hits and the Astros didn't. But it just really, really hurts. And yeah, you just have to hope that your momentum is the next guy pitching.
Every team in baseball in the postseason scares you. They should scare you by the time you get to the World Series, because they've already won 2 series. They've already done what they did in the regular season. They have momentum. And look, the Astros have lost 2 of the last 3 World Series when they were the favorite. They should have won both of them. If you're the Astros, of course you're scared every single time that you play a postseason game. We know what can happen. The Astros have been in a ton of postseasons and they've only won 1. What is this? How many postseasons is this now, Stephen? I think we're closing in on what, 12, 13?
About 12. And yeah, I'd almost prefer the Astros be the underdogs. I think I like them better when they're the underdogs and they're not expected to win, or nobody wants them to win. But yeah, I think all the odds makers that I have read, Robert, have picked the Astros. Maybe not all, but the majority of them certainly have picked the Astros to not only win this series, but win it handily. Well, I don't see that happening now, even if, they could come back and win the next 4 games, sure. But I just don't think so. I think this is going to be a nip and tuck series. I just hope that hasn't taken the wind completely out of their sails, or it's going to be a 4 or 5 game series in the Phillies' favor if that's the case.
Yeah, I mean, I'm so beside myself, as you could probably tell. And
were you yelling at your TV all night, Robert? Because yeah, I can tell in your voice that you've been yelling yourself hoarse somewhere.
It's mostly I've been yelling inside my head.
Okay, I'm just checking.
I think I'm hoarse, because my voice in my head
your adrenaline's pumping. Yeah, you're definitely like I can definitely. I've only seen you this way. Gosh, I could count on one hand, I think, the number of times I've seen you this way since I've known you, my friend. But who can blame you? This, as I said earlier, gosh, I mean, we've had some stinging losses in the postseason, and gosh, I hate to use the Phillies in 1980. That was certainly one of them. By God, they do it again. I mean, come on now.
This feels like a Houston thing. I mean, I've been through it like a billion times with the Oilers and the Astros, and how can they rip your heart out in another way? And I don't particularly like arrogance. I wish Kyle would have kept his mouth shut. I'm glad he backed it up, but I also wish he would have kept his mouth shut. And I just wish Astros fans would keep their mouth shut a little bit and just, instead just point to scoreboard when we get it done. Just you can't go, we're the badass team if you win only 1 World Series in 6 years. And the Astros need another World Series. They got to get one, or everybody's just going to make fun of this team forever and ever.
Yeah, and it's one thing to have a chip on your shoulder regarding the whole cheating thing. Is, we want to prove these people wrong that we're not cheaters. Well, if you want to do that, then focus on it 1 game at a time. Don't talk about going undefeated, during the postseason. Well, that's out the window now. You can't talk about that. You just need to take care of business and win each. It's an old cliche, but it's true. You got to take it 1 game at a time. Win that one, move on to the next one, and win that one. And I said this before, you asked me if I thought the Astros were a dynasty on a previous podcast, Robert. I'm going to repeat myself. No, they are not a dynasty. They have great teams over the years, yes. But you can't say dynasty until you have multiple championships in your quiver. Once you have that, maybe 2, really 3 would be better. Then we can start talking about that. But certainly not now. and certainly not the way things ended tonight.
Yeah. I just don't know what else to say. I just don't know what else to say. So we're going to wrap it up. Hopefully tomorrow is a better night.
And that's the good news. There is a game too, right? The next night. We don't have an off day. We don't have 2 or 3 days. We can come back tomorrow night, and it is at home. Not that it matters, because the Astros are 3-10 at home in the World Series. But Robert, they've got to take this game too. They absolutely have to take this game.
Yeah, they got to do it. I guess, Stephen, I'm going to try to calm down and hopefully get some sleep tonight somehow.
Take a deep breath. To do what Milo Hamilton, former Astros radio broadcaster, the late Milo Hamilton, always used to say, take a deep breath, hold it, let it out. Just do that, Robert. And just remember, we still have tomorrow night, and hopefully we'll have a much more pleasant conversation by this time then.
Yeah, Milo, I didn't realize he was ahead of his time doing breath work and the day, back in the day. Well, I want to thank everybody for joining us. We're going to be here for every one of the Astros post games. Geez, I hope it goes better than this the rest of the way. Yeah. I can't take it. My heart can't take it. My brain can't take it. Astros fans, if you're out there, you know what I'm talking about. Until tomorrow night, we'll talk to you guys later. Take care.
You're listening to Houston Sports Talk.
Hey, you can support the show by subscribing on YouTube and commenting on the videos. Listen to Houston Sports Talk on Spotify, Apple, Stitcher, and Google. Don't forget to tell a friend and share our show on social media. Spread the word, everybody. Thanks for listening.